Class, welcome back. Day 2 on domain and range and information off of graphs. So here we go. Before we completely start, I want to remind everyone what we're looking for just at the top. When we talk about interval notation, we're looking to go from the smallest value to the largest value. And what do I mean by that? Well, if I'm talking domain, I'm talking x's, so the smallest x to the largest x. And if I'm talking range, it's all about the y's. All right, last little piece to refresh. Remember, if a point is not included, we have to use parentheses. And if a point is included, we use our square brackets. Okay, square brackets. So, we were working on this a little bit the other day. I want to give you guys another little heads up about something that might be helpful. So, if you need to, you can ask me for them. But let's talk about post-its here, okay? I'm going to kind of zoom in on this one, our first one. Also, by the way, please take a second, copy this down. All right, and so with this post-it, what I'm talking about here is like cover up everything that's not included. All right, so we notice if we take our post-it, we're coming over to the side, we're not good yet. And then here, we can place our post-it because we know that we have nothing over to the left of this point. And then we do the same thing, okay. Something like that. All right, so now we have a better picture of the domain, right? Domain is x's. And basically what we need to now do, and maybe I should move this a little bit so we can write, is I need to describe all of these x values that I can see. So we have here, this is -7, and remember, this was an open circle, okay? So we are going to say -7 with an open, or not included, so parenthesis. And then what happens? We're moving over to the right, to the right, to the right. Oh, right here we have a hole, so we cannot include -2. So we have -2. And then again, remember, we have to start right back up on the other side. So we pick back up at -2. And now we're good all the way until 8. Lastly, this is an open circle, so we use a parenthesis. Now, we can use the exact same thing for range. All right? I do the same thing. I come up from the bottom, and it looks like right about there is where I start seeing some points. And then if we come from the top, here, okay. We're right here. So guys, we know that we now have to describe these y values that we see. So let's take a look. Our lowest, well, it looks like we would have a -5. However, it's an open circle, which means it's not included. I'm still going to use the -5, but remember I have to use, a parenthesis. Now, we come up, we're good. Remember, even though there is a hole here at -2, we're okay because of this section of the graph. So we come up. All right, there are no missing values until our max point, which is +8. And again, open circle, so we use a parenthesis. All right, so let's try the post-it method with one more. And then I'll probably just kind of move on, and you guys can decide if you want to keep using it or not. So take a second, copy the graph if you haven't already. And here we go with our method again. So domain from the bottom, or from the left, I should say. Not good. Okay, here we are, right here. Boom. Now when we go to put our other post-it note, what do? We go. Ooh, there's an arrow. So I don't even need this post-it. Right? I know that it goes on forever to the right. So let's take all of these things into consideration. We're starting at, what is that, -8, and it's a filled in circle or filled in dot, so we need to include that point. So that will be -8. And then what do we notice? We go to the right, we're good. Oh, I have a hole here at an x value of +1, so I need to put a hole in my interval notation. So it ends at 1, and then it picks right back up on the other side. And what do we see? It's good, and then it's good forever. So we're good. All right, move on to range. From the bottom, we have no points below the x-axis, so we can put our post-it there. Let's see here. Okay, we're going up, we're going up, we're going up. And actually, because we don't see an asymptote here, what can we say? We can say that this is technically going on and up forever. So really, in this case, we don't care about any sections over here. We only care about this part that's going up forever. So we would say 0, and because they're filled in, we include it, and that goes until positive infinity. All right, so again, I wanted to show you guys the post-it notes. If it's something that might be beneficial to you, ask me for a couple post-it notes. I'm glad to give you some if it helps you out. All right, if we move on to number 3 and 4, let's go ahead, take a second, copy these graphs down. All right, and here we go, okay? I'm just going to go old school now. I'm going to use my intuition. I'm going to just use my understanding of domain and range. I know that domain is everything left and right. So if I notice going to the left, ooh, I have an arrow going down and left forever. So that means my graph is technically starting at negative infinity. And what happens? I go to the right, I go to the right, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Okay, right here, hole. Can't include the hole. So at a value of positive 5, I have to put a hole. So it ends at 5, and it's not included, and then again, remember, it picks right back up on the other side. So 5, not included, and then what's going on? It's going up and out, up and to the right forever, so 5 to infinity. All right, that's the domain. How about the range? Let's take a look. Well, we already said it's going down forever. So hopefully we can all agree that that means negative infinity. And we're going up, we're going up. There's y values for everything here, 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 here. Ooh, interesting. And all the other ones, we've always just kind of been able to include the point that was really a hole because there was another section of the graph. But do we notice here? This hole, if we go across, there's nowhere else in this graph that has a y value of positive 3. So we have to include that hole in our range when we write the range. So that means that as we go up, this graph will never ever be y equals 3, so we cannot include it. We have to make a hole in our interval notation. So it goes to 3, it picks right back up at 3, and then it goes up forever. Okay, hopefully that made sense. If this hump, if this graph had come up past 3, then we would have been okay to just say all real numbers, or negative infinity to infinity, because over on this side there would have been a y value of 3. But because that did not happen, we have to take into consideration that there is a hole at y equals 3. Alright, on to the next one. So for domain, on this one, we check out, we see that our graph, there's nothing to the left of negative 6, which means I need to start at negative 6. Hopefully we all agree, because it is filled in, I am using a square bracket. Now, we go to the right, we go to the right, we go to the right, we go to the right. Okay, what do we see? We have a hole at x equals 0, so we need to write that. A hole at 0 means it stops at 0, and then it starts right back up on the other side of 0, and then it goes to the right forever. How about range? Range. Start down here. Ooh, okay. It's going down forever, so we know that we can start at negative infinity. And as we come up, 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 okay, we have another hole at y equals negative 2, and there's nowhere else on this graph, or on this function, in this case it's function, where y is equal to negative 2. So we have to include that hole in our interval notation, right? We cannot have our graph equal negative 2, so we need to say it. So it stops at negative 2, and then it starts right back up on the other side. Sorry, 2. And it goes up, 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 all the way to 4. Now just be careful, that point is included, right? It's filled in, so we need the square bracket. Alright, last couple of these practices, and then we'll move on to the next page. Please take a second, copy these graphs down for me. Alright, so for this one, domain-wise, think about this. This arrow is technically going up and what? To the left forever and ever and ever. So we know that our domain, if it's going to the left forever, then we have to start at negative infinity. Now, as we move to the right from negative infinity, we come here, we're good, we're good, we're good. Okay. It goes up again, and it never, ever, ever will touch what? X equals negative 2? Because there's an asymptote there. So we have to include that in our interval notation. It can't ever hit negative 2. So it goes from negative infinity all the way to negative 2, and then what happens? It starts back up on the other side of negative 2. So I union another negative 2, and let's see, this is going up forever, so here we go to positive infinity. Range-wise, guys, this one's pretty nice. We are going down forever. We're going up forever. There's no holes anywhere. This one is nice and easy. Negative infinity to infinity. Alright, last one on this page and then we'll move on. Domain. We see, where do we start on the left? What's our lowest value? Well, we have a hole here at negative 5. So I have to use the negative 5, and remember it's not included, so parenthesis. I go to the right. Okay, there's no holes, there's no other restrictions on the domain, so we just go to infinity. As for the range, our lowest y value, right here, again is at this hole, and that value is negative 5. Now, again, I used a parenthesis because it is a hole. It's not included. Now we check. We go up, we go up, we go up. There are no y values that are restricted. So we go to positive infinity. Alright, so hopefully that went better than our practice in class yesterday. Again, please keep rewatching this if you're having trouble with it, or ask me questions, ask me for post-it notes, anything that you think you need. I am here to help. So, as we move on, I'm going to start by placing or showing you guys the graph. If you could take a second and kind of copy that down for me, sorry. Go ahead, you can pause the video if you need to. Alright, so as we take a look, our first question is, and the second question, is just like the page before, so domain range. So when we look at this graph, if we use post-its, right, we know there's nothing to the left of this asymptote. Okay, so I can put my post-it there. I also know what? Well, I have nothing to the right of this hole, so I can put my post-it note there. So what we basically need to do is we need to describe this section of the graph. And remember, we're just describing the x values. Alright, so let's see here. We have an asymptote, a vertical asymptote, at negative 8. So negative 8, and remember, because it's never going to actually hit negative 8, we have to use a parenthesis, because it's not included. And let's take a look. It goes to the right, it goes to the right, it goes to the right. Alright, first problem. We have a hole here. We have a hole at an x value of negative 5, so we know that this goes up to negative 5, and then it stops and starts right back up on the other side of negative 5. As we continue right, we're good, we're good, we're good, we're good, we're good. Oh, we have another hole. We have a hole at x equals 3, so everywhere from negative 5 to 3, we are okay. That is part of our domain. Now again, it picks up on the other side of 3, and now here we go, it goes all the way to 7. Now just be careful, this is an open circle, or an open dot, so we do not include. Alright, let's now kind of switch gears and take a look at range. If I think about range, I can see very easily, hopefully, that my lowest value is right down here at negative 5. Okay, and it is a filled in, so I know that I'm going to use a square bracket. Now let's see what happens here. I go up, I go up, I go up, I go up. Oop, this is our first question mark, right? Over here's a hole, but here we're okay, right? So I do not need to take into consideration this hole because there is somewhere on the graph where y equals negative 1. So we keep going, we keep going, we keep going, we keep going. Ooh, two holes at the exact same y value. So I guess my question is, guys, is there anywhere on this graph where y is equal to 2? No, there is not. So we do need to take into consideration the holes. So it goes from -5 all the way up to +2, and then it stops and starts right back up on the other side of 2. Now, we're up, okay, we go up forever. So here is positive infinity. Okay? Alright, almost done. For what numbers is f of x equal to 0? Okay, so remember, if I'm asking about f of x, this is the output, this is the y value. So I'm looking for y to equal 0. Well, let's see. Y equals 0. I see it twice. I see it here at x equals -3, and I see it again at +4. Alright, so that's nice and easy. Now, these are going to help us with number 4. Number 4, what numbers is f of x greater than or equal to? So again, guys, I care. This is the y value. I want y values to be greater than or equal to 0. So what can I do? Well, if I can cover up, right? If f of x or y has to be greater than 0, hold on, let me do this better. If f of x has to be greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0, sorry, then I know I need to describe these sections of my graph, correct? Anywhere under the purple, f of x would be less than 0. I don't care about that. I want it to be greater than. So I need to describe these sections, and remember, we use interval notation to do so. So we know there's nothing to the left of -8, right? So we know we're going to pick up right here at -8. Oh my gosh, sorry guys, my bad. -8. Okay. And what do we notice here? Okay, we're going to the right, we're going to the right. So we're still greater than 0 here, right? Everything over here is greater than 0. We have a hole. We need to write that. So we have this hole at x equals 5, so we have to show that. We stop at 5, we start right back up on the other side of 5, and what's going on? We go to -3. Now, be very careful. This says greater than or equal to 0. Okay, so even though at -3 y is equal to 0, we have to include that point, right? We're allowed to equal 0 here, so we have to use a square bracket. Now, that describes the left. We also need to describe our other piece. So we union again. And what do we see? At +4, right? We knew +4 was an x-intercept, my bad. So we know that we're going to use a 4. Again, we are allowed to equal 0, so we have to include it. We have to include 4. And what happens? We go to the right, we go to the right, we go to the right, all the way to 7. And because it is an open circle, we do not include it. All right. Oh, sorry, I was off the page a little. All right. So again, these two pieces. Actually, let's go piece by piece. This piece right here. Oh, why didn't you guys tell me? -5. -5. This piece right here describes this section. This piece right here describes this section. And this piece right here describes this section. Sorry about those missing negatives, guys. So hopefully this helped you guys out. We're still practicing domain range. We got to get better at this. Yeah, and of course, as always, keep asking me questions in class. See you later.